We are 10 weeks into the year, which means I am 10 weeks into my New Year's resolution for the betterment of my health. This past week, I have lost 1.2 pounds, beating projections by zero point 0.2 pounds, so I am slightly in the lead. And this past week was pretty straightforward, nothing unusual. Although I would prefer to have lost more, I understood that I did make a variety of decisions that probably did not work against me. But the fact that it culminated in simply a pound loss, I would consider a win because it's a perfect compromise. I can have a bit of what I want and still afford to lose weight. So I would consider that to be pretty good. Although part of me would prefer to lose a little more so that I create a safety net so that in case I mess up, I will at least have some wiggle room to fall back on. As far as my health is concerned, there was amazing improvement in my blood pressure this past week, which is interesting because this past year I was averaging 140 over 100 for my blood pressure, which is considered pretty high. And over the past year, I have done everything I could to lower it, reducing my salt intake, eating more fruits and vegetables, eating less frequently, basically fasting, exercising casually, exercising aggressively, going to the gym 5 days a week. I've done just about everything you could think of, and absolutely nothing would lower my blood pressure, including trying to improve on my sleep. But yet, something I did broke the spell, and you would not believe it, what it was. In essence, what I did was I started taking an adrenal cocktail, which was basically a pinch of salt, a squeeze of lemon, and some water. Now, obviously, it didn't really do much, but the moment I started increasing the sodium content by having half a teaspoon of salt, pink salt, in the drink, all of a sudden my blood pressure has dropped significantly. So much so that the lowest reading I had was yesterday, where I recorded my blood pressure at 112 over 72. In other words, I have dropped both numbers by 28 points. Now, to put into perspective, the textbooks will tell you the DASH diet is an effective way of losing blood pressure. But when you look at the research, it is effective at lowering blood pressure by 6 points. And yet, ironically enough, I've been adding a lot of salt back into my diet, and my blood pressure has dropped 28 points. It's very contradictory, paradoxical. I'm eating more salt, and yet my blood pressure is dropping. And I'm thinking it is because the low salt environment that I was in, that I put myself in, was forcing the body to compensate. Because when you deprive yourself of salt, you also raise cortisol, which raises blood sugar, which raises insulin, and that elevated insulin response will interact with the kidneys to retain sodium, thereby canceling out your efforts to lower sodium intake. So I decided to interrupt this pattern by taking in more salt, and it seems to have done the trick, because even today I measured it and it was 125 over 82, a huge departure from 140 over 100. And so I found that to be quite amazing. Now, for this week, I do want to improve my progress. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to emphasize the behavioral realm when I do my research and my studying, because I feel that I've learned all that I could from cortisol, and I have implemented a lot of adjustments to lowering it. And so for that to be maintained, it is merely a matter of controlling daily habits and maintaining that momentum. But in relation to behavioral, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to find ways to interrupt my pattern of behavior so that I can finally break free of the habits that are working against me. So we shall see how that works for the coming weeks. And I'll see you next time.